Philip DeFranco describes the Russian-Ukraine conflict as the ex-boyfriend not being able to get over his ex-girlfriend moving on so quickly without him. We've all been affected by conflict, by world conflict, whether that be with inflation or worrying if a loved one in the armed forces would have to be deployed. Whether directly or indirectly, we've all been affected by it. Over the past month, I have been keeping up with the latest updates concerning this topic, as well as gaining specific facts on the two countries. I think the U.S. government laying sanctions on Russia isn't as beneficial as they think. I think coming with a less economically detrimental solution, as well as leaving a door open for a salvageable relationship with Russia, and finally aiding Ukraine and Russia have a separate agreement of their own, would be beneficial for everyone in the long run. Firstly, even though Russia is a politically harsh country, they are very beneficial to everyone else. According to an article on Fortune.com by Wadham and Bloomberg's, Russia is the largest exporter of wheat and barley, as well as supplying Europe with 40% of its crude oil and coal supply. So Russia is very, very important for Europe specifically. As well as the United States, if these sanctions were to go on long enough, according to New York Times article, this will be the quickest spike in inflation that America has seen in over 40 years. As far as Joe Biden, he is concerned about rising gas prices and rising prices at the grocery stores, but he is saying that the sanctions will help us in the long run, but that's all dependent upon the American people and if they want to wait out that long for those results. Secondly, would be to reestablish the 1994 agreement between Russia and Ukraine specifically. According to Wikipedia, on December 5th, 1994, the Russian Federation, Ukraine, Britain, and the United States all agreed on on Ukraine's sanctity and sovereignty as its own country. The agreement also states that all of the countries that that signed would recognize them as an independent nation, and they wouldn't try to force Ukraine's hand in not acknowledging and promising that agreement. And because of this conflict going on right now, Russia is in complete violation of this. So maybe if we were to come to the table, Russia, Ukraine, Britain, and the United States, we could reestablish that agreement and just remind Russia of their promise they made around 20 to 25 years ago. Now, although Russia is in the wrong, they do have some merit in their concerns. According to an article written by Jonathan Masters on CFR.org in December of 2021, Vladimir Putin's main concern is border security. That if Ukraine were to become a NATO nation, that would put his border security in jeopardy. So if we were to establish a relationship and just assure to Vladimir Putin that his border security wouldn't be faltered, even if Ukraine were to join NATO, then I think it would put him more at ease and not make him so hostile. A way we can lead with having a salvageable relationship in the end is to lead with lighter sanctions in the beginning. I believe that Biden putting these sanctions so harshly in the beginning would evoke Putin to a more agitated response against not only Ukraine, but maybe us in the future. So maybe if we were to leave with lighter sanctions in the beginning, but gradually increase sanction severity, maybe that would help. Also, focus on what's to gain with just focus on what's to gain. There's nothing to gain with war, as we've seen before with Afghanistan, and as we're seeing now as this Ukraine situation becomes more and more of a severity issue. There's just not much to gain with going to war over a nation that you've already expressed that you would acknowledge as its own nation. Lastly, a way we could lead with starting an agreement with Russia and Ukraine specifically in the future is just what we have to state what can and cannot happen in that future agreement. Like I said before with the 1994 agreement, just stating blatantly what can and cannot, what will and won't be permitted, I think will establish a great understanding between all the nations again, so we wouldn't come up with this issue in the future. And lastly, just hearing out Russia's concerns, valid concerns about, like I said before, Ukraine wanting to join NATO. I think it's a valid concern that you just want border security, and having a nation like this so close to your border would be a concern. So maybe if Ukraine and Russia just had a separate agreement that Ukraine wouldn't join NATO and Russia wouldn't try and invade them again, I think that would be a very good solution to the problem. Today I talked to you about less detrimental solutions economically, having a more salvageable relationship with Russia, and leading with a solution, an agreement of a solution in the end. Hopefully with this information you will be more inclined to do your own research and just to look into this situation on both sides and maybe come up with your own interpretation of this conflict. Thank you.